All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Cathedral City Planning Commission for March 20th, 2024. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
Commissioner Lowe, I'm sorry, Commissioner Lowe?
Present.
Vice Chair Malakoff?
Here.
Chair Daley?
Present.
Let the record show Commissioner Lee is absent.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite everyone on the dais and in the audience to please stand for the flag salute. Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 1, approval of the minutes, the March 6, 2024 minutes. Is there a request to speak on this item from the public?
We have no speakers in the audience.
Thank you. Hearing none. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
No changes.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as written?
I move to approve the minutes as submitted.
I'll second that.
Oops. Let the record show a motion was made by Commissioner Thompson, seconded by Commissioner Lee, to approve the minutes for March 6, 2024, with Commissioner Lee absent.
Thank you so much. All right, we're moving on to item 2 of the agenda, public comments. The public is invited to address the Planning Commission on any matter not on the agenda. If you wish to speak on an agenda item, please wait to be recognized under that item. Except for special circumstances, the Brown Act prohibits the Planning Commission or staff from responding or taking action on any comments made by the public unless it pertains to an item that appears on this agenda. All speakers should give their name and city of residence, and please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Is there anybody who would like to be heard on an item not on the agenda tonight?
There are no speakers in the audience who would like to speak on an item.
Okay, hearing none. Sorry. Hearing none, we will close the public comment section and move on to the public hearing item 3A, case design review 23-001.
Mr. Chair, can I make a
Yes, of course.
disclosure? I just wanted to disclose that I've worked with the contract planner before, and our firms have worked together before, but there's no conflict. I've discussed it with the city attorney and just wanted to make sure we put it on the record.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Emily Elliott. I'm presenting on behalf of my colleague, Ivana Velasco, who is out sick today. I'll be presenting design review number 23-001 for the proposed Silver Rock Grove Apartments submitted by Ethan Mizrahi. The project site, as indicated by the stars on the maps, is located in the downtown commercial land use designation of the general plan and is zoned downtown residential neighborhood. Multifamily developments are permitted use in the DNR and is consistent with the intent of the downtown commercial land use designation. Do I need to point this in any particular direction? Maybe it helps if I turn it on.
There you go.
That's going to speak into the microphone.
Thanks.
Let's see. They should all be...
Okay. The project indicated by the red outline will be located between Cove Lane and Grove Street, east of Cathedral Canyon Drive. The nearest major cross streets are Cathedral Canyon and Palm Canyon Drive. Existing conditions on the project site is shown in these street view images from both sides of the property. The lot is generally flat, vacant, and has largely been cleared of vegetation. From Cove Lane, looking south of the property, there are existing single-family dwellings as well as a senior living development. And from Grove Street, facing north, there are commercial and retail businesses fronting Palm Canyon Drive, including fast food, commercial retail, and professional services. To the immediate west of the project is the Local Mart convenience store. The applicant is proposing a 3-story, 19-unit residential apartment complex that will consist of 4 attached buildings, attached garages, surface and guest parking, and common space amenities. To get a better visual understanding of the project components have been identified in color, which we'll walk through right now. Around the perimeter of the project in the teal color indicates the location of retaining walls that are topped with tubular steel fencing, the maximum height of 6 feet. The yellow signifies surface parking spaces for residents and guests. Orange is the private parking garages, which are situated below the proposed dwelling units. And the blue area shows 3 adaptable ground floor units. And the purple area indicates common area for residents. Site circulation is noted in red. The red circles indicate the driveway entrances and exits from the site. And finally, the red dashed lines show the accessible path of travel through the complex. This slide takes a closer look at the common area and trash staging room. There will be an open patio area with outdoor furniture, an electric barbecue, and decorative water fountain surrounded by various trees and shrubs. We'll go into more detail on the landscaping plan later in the presentation. The blue highlighted area is the trash staging room. The plans indicate residents will access the room from near the common area, and waste management services will take access from the parking lot. Now we'll walk through each floor plan of the proposed project. On this first floor, it's helpful to visualize the 4 attached buildings as forming kind of a W shape. As shown earlier, and at the base of the W, the first floor will consist of 3 adaptable units. The unit on the left and the right are each 1 bedroom, and the middle unit is 2 bedrooms. And each will have its own patio facing Grove Street. Extending from the base of the W toward Cove Lane are 3 building segments where the first floor is comprised of the private garage spaces. And along the main hallway, there will be rentable storage spaces and community mailboxes for the first floor. The second floor will consist of 4 2-bedroom units, 2 1-bedroom, and 2 studios. The 2-bedroom units that are above the garage spaces will have a den area, which is the only feature that makes them different from the center 2-bedroom space. All units will have their own private balconies. There will be stairs on both ends of the corridor, and again, rentable storage space. The third floor has the same layout as the second in terms of unit type and distribution. All units will have their own private balconies, the only difference of which the balconies on the third floor is that these balconies project slightly beyond the primary building plane. Lastly, there'll be stairs on both ends of the corridor again, and roof access for maintenance. Retaining walls will be constructed along the west and south boundaries to accommodate the elevation drop from the northwest to the northeast corner. Retaining wall heights will vary between 1 to 7 feet at the southwest portion of the site. The retaining walls will not be visible from Cove Street or the adjacent property. As we mentioned earlier, a 6-foot tubular fence will be installed on top of the retaining walls and at the east boundary of the site. The adjacent convenience store to the west does have an outdoor storage area and trash enclosure that appears to partially encroach onto the subject site. The project applicant has been made aware of this and provided with the contact information for that property owner so that they can work together to abate that encroachment prior to the project getting underway. A condition had been added to the project since it was presented to the Architectural Review Committee. Condition 3.25 ensures compliance with state laws regarding the unanticipated discovery of artifacts or human remains. This slide shows the north and south elevations of the project as viewed from Cove Lane and Grove Street. The primary surface material for the building will consist of neutrally colored stucco in gray and tan hues and is accented with faux wood siding that gives the buildings more depth and warmth. Additional features include horizontal metal railings around the open corridors and balconies and metal awnings above the first floor dwelling entrances. Light sconces are shown adjacent to entry points to dwellings and staircases, and the building's design makes use of segmented projections to further enhance its appearance and offer a varied look. This slide shows the east and west elevation in the top two images, with the east elevation facing Buddy Rogers Avenue and the west facing the rear of the local Mart convenience store. The design of the buildings on these elevations draws attention away from the garage doors, which are kept in that neutral gray tone, and focuses the view on the second and third stories with segments of building projection in a lighter color, while also offering contrast with the faux wood cement board. Horizontal railings continue for the balconies on these elevations. The two images at the bottom of the slide depict the internal elevations as seen from within the project between buildings and is more utilitarian in its appearance. For landscaping, the applicant is proposing a tree palette consisting of Cascalote, African sumac, and California hybrid fan palms, all proposed in the 24-inch box size. The trees are placed generally around the perimeter of the site, with the African sumacs providing the shading for the surface parking area, and combinations of trees are proposed along Cove Lane and Grove Street. Shrubs are proposed in the palette range from 5-gallon to 15-gallon size and include the blue flame agave, red bird of paradise, indigo bush, barrel cactus, hibiscus, sage, and other low water use species. Again, the plantings are focused around the perimeter of the site and within surface parking areas. No turf is proposed in the plan, and the ground cover will consist of decomposed granite and cobblestones. The Architectural Review Committee unanimously recommended the project for approval. However, they did have a couple of requests. The first was the request to add a condition of approval, request that staff and the applicant confirm with the building department that the project is meeting ADA standards and regulations. The applicant has submitted for at-risk plan check, and the ADA requirements are being resolved through that plan check. There was also a request for the addition of solar protection for the south-facing elevations, and that has been addressed in condition 3.24. That the applicant will work with, to the satisfaction of the director, to provide treatment on those south-facing windows. The project is subject to evaluation under the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA. The state CEQA guidelines provide exemptions from further environmental review for certain types of projects, including infill development. This exemption, known as the Class 32 exemption, applies to projects that are consistent with the applicable general plan designation and all applicable general plan policies, as well as the zoning designation and regulations. Projects also must occur within city limits on a project site of no more than 5 acres and be substantially surrounded by urban uses. And that the project is on a site that has no value as habitat for endangered, rare, or threatened species, where the approval of the project would not result in any significant effects relating to noise, traffic, air quality, or water quality, and where the site can be adequately served by required utilities and public services. And staff noted that no roadway or transportation system changes beyond the site are occurring, that the project does not include a new stationary noise source, it does not include a new source of air pollution emissions, and does not result in changes in site drainage that can't be addressed through BMPs in the water quality management plan. Therefore, staff finds that the project is consistent with the Class 32 CEQA exemption. The project was publicly noticed in the newspaper, and property owners within 300 feet of the project also received a notice in the mail. And to wrap up, based on the analysis and findings in the staff report and the recommendation of the Architectural Review Committee, staff recommends the Planning Commission find that the project is exempt from further environmental review under CEQA and to approve Design Review 23-001 subject to the conditions of approval. This is going to conclude my presentation. Myself and the applicant are available for your questions.
Thank you so much. Before we actually go there, Council, can I talk to you very briefly? Okay. Thank you. I apologize to do this to my vice chair at the last minute, but I'm going to actually have to recuse myself and have him take over in my stead. Just for everybody's information, just because it's occurred to me that I live too close to this project to be doing this myself. So, Vice Chair Malkoff.
Okay. Nothing like being surprised. So I believe that we're at a point for questions. Thank you. Thank you. I think we're at a point asking questions of staff. So, Mr. Lowe, do you have any questions?
I
of
don't.
staff? Do you have any questions of staff?
I have two questions. First off, could you clarify for me, because honestly, I read through this and you mentioned it in your briefing. What is the grading and the retaining wall? Where is the retaining wall and how high is it?
Sure. And I know this grading exhibit is not the easiest to read. I'm going to flip back to my notes. The southwest portion of the site is where the primary retention is going to occur. Correct, yes.
And does it taper from there?
It will taper, so the retaining wall becomes shorter as you go to the east toward Buddy Rogers.
The landscaping is consistent along the entire side. Is there space between the retaining wall and the sidewalk?
No, it appears that the retaining wall is placed at the property line.
My second question is relative to the recommendation for soil protection from south and not include the west elevation.
That's correct. The ARC focused on the southern elevation.
I would, part of the discussion, suggest that we include the west elevation.
Okay.
And that was it.
That would be, when we get to it, a modification of one of the conditions of approval, I think 3.23. I have one question, and I think it's for our esteemed city engineer. Has the alley between lots 5 and 6 been vacated?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because when I was trying to get my location, and I went to the Map My County, and when I pulled up the APN map, it showed that it was still there. So that's definitely been vacated, and now just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, the APM maps take a long time to catch up to what real life is about, so, yeah, that's been done.
That was my main issue. Is there any more questions of staff? Okay. So I'd like to open the public hearing and invite the applicant to the podium for their presentation.
Hello, my name is Ethan Mizrahi with Silver Rock Development. I'm the applicant. I'm here to address any questions you may have, and thank you for taking the time to hear our project today.
I have one comment and one question. On the north side, there's a combination wall and tubular fence.
Correct.
And I was wondering if there was a reason for it not being just a 6-foot block wall to separate the two uses from the convenience store and the dwellings.
You're referring to just the section along the back of the convenience store to be
Just that
block wall.
section, right?
We're open to making that block wall, that
Okay.
section. I think that's not a bad idea, actually.
Thank you. We'll bring that up during discussion.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Any more questions, or do you have any questions of us?
No?
Okay. Then, I don't have any speaker slips, but is there anybody in the audience that would like to comment on the project?
Looks like we have no one in the audience who's looking to speak on this item.
Okay. If there's nobody that wants to comment, then I will close the public hearing.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Oh, I forgot to say one thing, that I really like the architecture. It's exactly what we need downtown, and I thought you should be commended for it.
We're very excited about the project. We're also excited there's some commercial development going on at the same time, and we think it's going to be very good for the area. Thank you.
Then I close the public comments and, wait a minute, do I need to close the comments or the public hearing?
It's technically a hearing, but the public comments or public hearing is now closed.
Okay, so now I'll close the public comments and the public hearing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm a little new at this. Thank you. Does the commission have any more questions for staff or the applicant?
I do not.
So I think we have two issues to discuss. If you go to condition the added condition from the Architectural Review Committee. I believe it's, keep on passing it.
3.24.
Thank you, sir.
What I'm asking is that the sentence, the first sentence in condition 3.24 be amended to read south and west facing windows.
I would agree with that and can add it as part of the motion, Mr. Lowe.
Well, I'd just be curious to know the conversation of the Architectural Review Committee of why they only wanted it on the south. Is it because the windows are recessed on the west side? They seem to be recessed from the facade of the building.
That could be,
Well, I just am reluctant to add a condition if we don't know the background of why perhaps it's not needed. I mean, for us to just decide that it's needed, I'm not sure is appropriate. I mean, there had to have been a conversation about it.
could we open public comment and have the
Staff?
staff?
I'll open public comments again, and staff or the applicant let us know if there was any discussion on this, on the west elevation for the Architectural Review Committee?
The short answer is no. The west elevation was not brought up as an area of concern. The primary concern was that southern elevation and just that there was relatively limited solar mitigation for those south-facing windows.
Can you pull up the
Sure.
the drawing
Elevations.
so that we can see what we're talking about?
Yeah, so here's the east and west. Commissioner Thompson pointed out that because of the way that the building projection is, some of the windows have a little bit more shading, 'cause they are recessed. But on the southern elevation, some of the windows are flush with the building.
See, I hear the discussion, the concern about the Architectural Review Committee did not bring in or include the western facing because part of it's balcony or deck or whatever. But having lived in the Cove and having west-facing windows that are still under an awning, they still get,
Well, I don't think
Direct
it's
sun.
limited to the Cove. I mean, any place in this
right.
valley that has
I'm
west.
not limited to car, I'm just saying, having lived here in the valley, it's, I think it's just smart for us to include some kind of mitigation on the west.
So can we ask the applicant if he has any objection to that?
Sure.
We did speak with our architect about this item, and they recommended we just use a lower solar gain coefficient for the windows, which would basically put more argon gas or nitrogen gas between the different window panes and allow for less heat to generate through. In addition, these windows are the bedroom windows, so they did mention that people tend not to be in the bedrooms as much during the daytime, which I guess is very subjective. And the other comment was, let me see here. Oh yeah, they could eliminate some of those windows as well on the south-facing side. And the reason this was brought up was due to the sun and the heat. So if you're saying it's also present on the west side, we can look into that. But this is more of a building-related question, so we could probably make a note of this and have the building department review this with us.
So in the condition, the way it reads is that the treatments shall be approved by the Development Services Director. So I guess from my perspective, if we add the west-facing windows to the, to 3.24.
I'm
They
sorry
work with-
to interrupt. Can we speak in the
I'm
mic
sorry?
just a little bit more? Thank you.
I can't hear you.
Can we speak into the mic just a little bit more? I'm sorry. Thank you.
So my
I'm going to close
perspective
public
is
comments. You can sit down again.
Thank you.
that if we add the west-facing windows to 3.24, it allows the applicant to work with the Building Services Director to come up with a solution.
Absolutely, and that's all I'm asking.
Okay? I just wanted to understand it.
Great, so we'll, in our motion, we'll have, just add the word south, it'll say south and west facing windows, and everything else will be the same. Then one of the suggestions I have is, I'd like to see a buffer between different uses, so rather than see a 3-foot wall and a 3-foot tubular fence on the west end of the property between the convenience store, I'd like to just see a 6-foot block wall. And the applicant's already said that they have no objection. Do we have a concurrent for that?
Where would you make that modification in the design? Is it simply on the design?
Well, right now it's on the design, and I would just add a condition 3.25 that says that the combination block wall, tubular fence shall be a 6-foot block wall to be approved by the Community Development Director
On the west end of the property?
on the west end of the property, between the convenience store and the apartment.
So do you think there could be a public safety issue of the reason they would want the tubular fencing on top of the 3-foot wall was to create some visibility, because if you have a solid block wall on that side of the property, people can come behind that wall and nobody can see them.
I'm more concerned with just providing a solid barrier between the block wall and the apartments, mostly for safety reasons, because if you have the combination walls are easy to climb. The 6-foot block wall is not that easy to climb. There's a lot of, what's the right word, nefarious activities at that convenience store. And I just want to make sure that they don't eke into the site for this.
I mean, the applicant's already said he doesn't object to it, so.
So we can add a condition 3.25 that changes the combination wall to a solid block wall on the west elevation. Okay.
Mr. Vice Chair? Right here. Just for clarification, that would be a new condition 3.26 because the presentation added.
Thank you.
Sure.
I forgot about that. Thank you. So if there's no more comments, and we've closed the public hearing, do I have a motion?
Bear with me as I try to word this motion.
Excuse me, Vice Chair, prior to the motion, the city engineer, Public Works Director, was bringing up a point that if we go with the solid wall on the west elevation, we may want to consider that as well on the east elevation, just for consistency in design throughout the project. Because right now it's proposed to be tubular fencing.
Well, I know there's tubular fencing around the perimeter, which is commonly used in multiple family, but I was more concerned between the convenience store and the apartments.
Okay.
And I just wanted to see that one wall be a 6-foot block wall.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Sir?
Sorry, so just for clarification, you're only proposing it on that one side, right? So I can make a note of it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, sorry, just for clarification, it's only the new condition for the one side, correct? Not both?
Just the west side.
Just the one
correct.
side? Okay.
Just the west side.
You're requiring it on the west side. If they want to do it on the east side, they can.
Yeah, they can work that out with the director if they choose to do that. I'm just worried about the west side.
Thank you. I move that we find the project is exempt from California Environmental Equality Act pursuant to section number 15332, class number 32 infill development projects, and approved design review number 23-001, subject to the attached conditions of approval and based on the findings contained in the staff report, with conditions of approval modified to or amended to add condition 3.26, requesting a solid block wall on the west end of the property, and modifying condition 3.24 to include west-facing windows as well as south-facing windows.
Do you have a second?
As soon as I see it up there.
Was that?
It should be there, yeah. Let's see. Try that. If it doesn't work, we can do a roll call vote.
You doing it again?
Congratulations, the unanimous
You have to vote again.
3-0 vote, I think.
Okay, so since Chair Daley is not here, he'll be abstaining, so let the record show a motion was made by Commissioner Thompson, seconded by Commissioner Lowe, with Commissioner Lee absent and Chair Daley abstaining from voting. The motion passes with all ayes.
And if
Well, we
Chair
look forward
Daly is
to
still
this
here,
project being
he's
built.
more than welcome to
Thank
come
you.
back.
I think our chair can come back.
Maybe you went home.
Didn't know the bar was open.
Thank you for the notes, it really helped.
Gave them to me right before. All right. Okay. Are we moving on to item 4, Commissioners' comments? Yes? Well, I'm going to start, and I just want to apologize to my vice chair. I read this packet earlier this week, and at no point did it even occur to me how close it was to my house. And it wasn't until we started the process that I realized it was. So I'm sorry to have done that to you on the last minute. I appreciate you stepping in and all that jazz.
So just as an observation, typically when we're that close to where we have a potential conflict of interest, in the past, we've been notified of that by the city when the packet goes out. So I don't know, something slipped through the crack then, in this case.
Robert used to have
A map.
a map with a 300-foot radius that he gave to each commissioner and each council member. Do those still exist?
I mean, I have mine. I just didn't check.
Right, but I mean, so Tracy used to notify us if.
We will
fell
track it
within-
down. We'll track it down and use it for future projects.
Because if we had been one short,
Yeah.
we'd have had to recess.
It's true. I did have that thought.
I was happy to do it.
Okay, well, thank you. Any other comments? No? Okay.
Well done, and I look forward to this development happening.
I like it.
The architecture is very nice.
All right, moving on to item 5, the city attorney report. Do we have a city attorney report?
Not tonight, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And item 6, the city planner report.
So at the last meeting, I alluded that we have a new planner. Our new planner is here tonight. So I'd like to introduce Cynthia Schultz to the Planning Commission.
Hello, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
And
It's usually not just like this, but, similar.
she already has a workload, and I'm sure that she'll be before the Planning Commission in no time. And we have been talking about the zoning code updates, so that will also be coming forward for discussion here soon.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any questions for the planning department? No? Okay, I appreciate everybody's patience and time this evening. This meeting is now adjourned at 6:39 p.m. Thank you.